Welcome back to another video. Today I'm reviewing Your Lie in April, which is a music drama slice of life with an overwhelmingly positive reputation for being a heavily emotional anime. Today's review is spoiler free, so if you haven't seen the anime yet, this may be the perfect opportunity to decide if it is right for you. So how well does this emotional experience translate into an actual story? Let's find out. Your Lie in April is essentially a coming-of-age story for 14-year-old Kosei, a child pianist who suffers from severe anxiety and depression stemming from his history of physical abuse. Kosei's late mother, a skilled pianist, raised him on a strict regimen of endless piano practice and would scold and beat him upon any of the slightest mistakes. This resulted in Kosei associating the piano with his childhood trauma, inundating him with enough stress to render him incapable of playing the piano due to being unable to hear his own notes. While he doesn't exactly have a personal goal, it actually works for his personality type, considering that he's just the type of guy that doesn't really care and just wants to live day by day. Kaori, a violinist, is an enigmatic character by design. Despite being co-star and poster girl of the anime, she essentially plays a support role for the entirety of the story, and her development is purposefully postponed until the latter half of the anime. Your Lie in April features an inordinate cast of characters which sadly leave many undeveloped and forgettable. While children and young teenagers often work better with a shallow personality, the majority of the active cast lack enough of a personality to characterize themselves. In addition, their emotions are sporadic enough to give the impression that everyone is bipolar. Not just the characters, but the production team as well. Both emotions and tones arbitrarily shift throughout this anime, where we'll have one character who is just violently attacking one of their friends, and then a moment later they're unrealistically mature. It's as if the writers have this dartboard with emotions covering it, and they just randomly choose what the characters feel next. Furthermore, the heavy usage of tropes not only remove you from the experience, but become a monument to the problems within today's anime. While I often stress the importance of execution over originality, jokes are often the exclusion to this, as tropes are played out jokes that have been used for at least a decade by now. One of the most obnoxious tropes present within Your Lie in April is the male bashing. Kosei is a victim of physical abuse, yet the writers believe that it's supposed to be funny for him to take further physical abuse from his friends. Violence with the intent of comedy and what would otherwise be a non-action story is essentially child's play. It is by definition cartoon violence. It's basically Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner and is inappropriate for a tragedy story. The male bashing isn't some sort of insignificant flaw that's meant to be overlooked either, as it exists several times within 9 of the 22 episodes, and yes, I counted. In addition, this anime also features your standard get caught with a girl in an awkward moment by your friends and try to explain yourself, having a girl get mad at you for seeing her panties, and a shy male protagonist who's surrounded by a bunch of women who are secretly in love with him. Oh, and of course, the awkward, emotional outburst at inappropriate moments. Believe me, I understand, this is a dramatic and emotional anime, and the viewers require something to dissolve the tension as it continuously piles up, but this does not give them the excuse to reuse the same jokes as every other anime, further driving it into the ground. If Your Lie in April were handled by a more skilled writer and director, it would have had more thematically consistent jokes and would have honestly been about 12 episodes long. Now, it is possible that the source material is identical to the anime, but I wouldn't know just because I haven't read it. Even if this were the case, it doesn't mean that the anime couldn't improve upon it when you consider that all of its mistakes would have been seen in hindsight. But what I can say is that those accredited with the creation of this adaptation or story have never worked on anything that has a reputation of having a good story. Of course, I'm not speaking for the manga, but what we have here actually is a good story that was ultimately set back and doubled in length because the creators favored cute children and bad jokes. As I said, Your Lie in April actually is a good story once you get to its core. Kosei arduously attempts to cope with his stress as he manages to play in competitions for the first time in many years. In his childhood, these same competitions distinguished his technical abilities, but it has been quite a few years and he's become a bit rusty. Luckily, he has his newfound friend Kaori, who relentlessly encourages him to improve. I suggest that you become accustomed to this auditorium as the majority of the significant events take place here. This may sound a bit monotonous, but it's far from the truth. When you consider that the majority of Kosei's problems are actually internal struggles, it isn't until his stress is intensified by the onlooking audience that we can see things truly through his perspective. In addition to this new perspective, we're given music, and when you consider this is a music anime, the quality of the performances are crucial, and the anime definitely delivers on that aspect. As Kosei confronts his own psyche, he gradually improves as demonstrated by the quality of his performance. One thing you'll notice with these competitions is that all of the characters play a little differently, even if they're playing the same composition. Surprisingly, I never got tired of hearing the same piece back to back because they're all unique due to variations in tempo. It's unfortunate that the anime doesn't leave these little hints and details within the sound of the music to the viewer to discover on their own. It's the audience themselves that info dump all of their observations about the music, and I understand that this, from the manga, it was essential there because we obviously couldn't hear the music, but within the anime, it's redundant and we could have left a little bit of hand-holding there out. These competitions are technically inconsequential as there are no repercussions for failures. However, they're just a believable place to just get stressed out of your mind when you're performing in front of that many people. These competitions additionally introduce us to a few of Kosei's rivals, which he never knew existed, and while these characters are essentially insignificant to the plot, I feel that they are important for highlighting the morals of the story, which I will discuss further into this review. Through watching Your Lie in April, I experienced several strong tonal shifts in increments of about 6 episodes each. There were times when I felt this was written and directed by people who never had contact with each other. My reactions range from actually enjoying what I'm seeing to really wishing it would just hurry up and end. These tonal shifts are blatant and noticeable by anyone that I've ever talked to that's seen this anime. One moment we'll be focusing on several tragedies of the lead characters, and then another moment we'll be dealing with the romantic interest of a minor character, and then we'll switch to the aforementioned cliche comedy bits, and then there were these strange moments of childhood flashbacks which rarely divulged any significant information to the plot. There were a few times which is important that we had them, but other times was honestly just wasting time and poor pacing. I presume the explanation for this lies within the current moe fads of modern anime. In a market where cute is king, the creators possibly just try to mask the tragedy of the story with all of the tropes and cute characters that are present within modern anime just to get the Japanese audience to actually watch it, which is honestly really sad if that's the case. Or maybe they just thought it was funny. I don't know what's worse. Unfortunately, this also applies to the latter half of the anime where the stakes are naturally at their highest. Instead of dealing with several of the issues at hand, Kosei decides to start teaching children how to play piano despite the fact that he still hasn't conquered his own inner demons yet, and this additionally adds characters to an already superfluous cast. Obviously, I can't speak heavily on the story's conclusion, but it ends in a way that is believable when considering previous events. In addition, it also ties up the loose ends with the major characters, while it doesn't exactly give you an ending for all of the minor characters, but that really doesn't matter because you probably already forgot about them by then anyways. The ending itself was met with many mixed emotions amongst its fans. I thought they did a good job with the ending when considering the amount of foreshadowing present leading up to these events, and honestly there was a bit more than enough foreshadowing here, so there should really be not that big of an issue with it. And even if you don't agree with the ending of an anime, it doesn't mean that it's a bad ending. Your Lie in April actually tells a good story when it wants to. Essentially, the moral of the story is, close or far, you never truly know to what extent you've influenced others. This is shown as there were several characters who were influenced by Kosei's piano playing at a very young age, and this inspired them and gave them this burning drive to become better at the piano, even to the point where they're actually even better than he is. Furthermore, Kosei himself was affected in many ways by his mother, both positive and negative, that she will know about. This also applies to those left distant from Kosei's life as well. Moving on to the presentation, I don't think I need to tell you that this is a beautiful anime, which honestly mostly comes from the vibrant backgrounds, and I really appreciated the amount of detail put into the inner mechanics of the piano. As they play, they move. I know nothing about playing a piano, so I couldn't look at that and tell you if that's accurate or not, but a lot of stuff is moving, and I thought that they did a good job of doing all that. And that CG, it really blends in very well, honestly. You know, some CG will stand out a lot. As for the character designs themselves, they don't really look any different from any other character in modern slice of life anime, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, that's just how they look. My only complaints about the presentation, aside from having to look at these moe blob children characters, was that there were a few times in competitions where characters would be replaced with a still image and they would be playing the piano without moving their fingers or body or really anything, because it was just a picture. As for the background music itself, it's honestly a bit limited. There's only a handful of songs there, but this is easily forgivable when you consider the quality of the piano playing. It truly is beautiful. I'm not sure how many different people they had playing the piano here, but they played some of the same compositions in different tempos, and there were a few screw-ups, and even being off-key a few times as well for certain characters in certain instances, and this is what truly brought the anime to life for me, was listening to some of the piano music here. Moving on to the voice acting, as of right now, there is no English dub for this, so you're watching it with a sub. The Japanese voice actors do an outstanding job at acting out these characters, but the majority of them, because of how shallow they are, they really don't challenge any of the actors, but it's still good. Your Lie in April earns a performance level of 7 out of 10 with an enjoyment level of about, it's hard to say really. There were times when it could have been an 8, and there were times when it could have been a 4 as well, just because of all of the tonal shifts. I'd like to give a special thanks to David on Patreon for requesting this video, and also for supporting the channel as well. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, as well as rate, comment, and share with your friends if you really enjoyed it. I'll see you next time when I review 7 Deadly Sins. Thanks for watching.